This is a Fox News alert. News from the President of the United States that there has been an attack inside Iran. Just moments ago, President Donald Trump putting out on Truth Social, we have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. Again, this from President Donald Trump. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Again, that's just seconds ago from President Donald Trump on Truth Social, suggesting that those B-2 bombers that perhaps were on the way may have been behind this. We'll get more details on these 3 sites that the president said has been attacked inside Iran. This comes after days of negotiations to try to get Iran to the negotiating table. The President of the United States saying it would have to be unconditional surrender, saying enrichment would have to stop. We heard from negotiations in Europe that that was not being accepted by the Iranians, that they would not stop enriching uranium. There was a thought that this could go as long as 2 weeks, as the president said he would decide within 2 weeks. However, 2 days is within 2 weeks. And now word from President Donald Trump that these attacks have happened. Again, interesting that 3 sites have been struck by U.S. bombers. And this, again, we'll get more information about the exact targets and what bombs were used. We expect that the GBU-57, the bunker buster, the massive penetrator bomb, may have been one of those used. Fordo is a nuclear facility inside Iran that is roughly a half-mile deep underneath a rock mountain-like facility that has been said to be the site of a lot of the enrichment capability. Esfahan, believed to be a storage facility for enriched uranium, and Natanz, another part of the nuclear facilities. They have several throughout Iran. It has been long described as a very difficult and tedious effort to go after these nuclear sites, but the U.S., for the first time, launching an attack inside Iran. Again, the President of the United States saying all of the planes are out of Iranian airspace. The bombings do continue by the Israelis inside Iran as this back-and-forth volley between Israel and Iran has continued for some 2 weeks.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. There are some decades when absolutely nothing happens. I'm sure you've lived through some of them. And then there are days when decades happen, and we are inside of that hyperloop right now as President Trump has bombed Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, American bombers, B-2 stealth bombers, on a stealth mission with 0 leaks, have decimated Iranian nuclear capabilities. This is breaking as of about 30 minutes ago. President Trump posting on Truth Social and changing the world as we know it. We're going to talk about this operation, which was a wild, super secretive operation that happened with a ton of different jukes. There were differing planes that were flying all around the region. The administration kept this particular aircraft and this fighter squadron completely secret and completely stealth. They were flying suborbital. So effectively, no one could see them, no one could track them, and they sent decoy operations around the planet. It's a wild, wild story. We're going to unpack all of it. And President Trump will be live on our broadcast in approximately 15 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. President Trump live in 15 minutes. So much to get to. We're going to go. Let's freaking go. We have completed our successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iranian airspace. Full payload of bombs was dropped on primary site Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There's not another military in the world who could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter, says President Trump on Truth Social. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what an American bunker buster looks like. I mean, holy smokes. We're going to be absorbing the news live here on the stream. So much, I mean, all of this is happening right now. Look at that. I mean, just holy moly. Look at this. That is really something. ALX, where's the other version of this? Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. We got more. There we go. Here's another. I mean, this footage from the ground is just unbelievably remarkable. Check this out. Here we go. I mean, this is different. This is different than anything the Israelis did. Look at this. This is what we are getting from the ground. Wild. That is Fordo nuclear facility in Iran. Holy moly. And it's done. And it's gone, President Trump says. They're gone. President Trump saying they're finished. Donald Trump also posting an American flag on Truth Social, and then posting that Fordo nuclear facility is now gone. U.S. bombs 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including key Fordo nuclear bunker. This is a bunker that is deep within a mountain wall. Trump hails it as very successful attack. Live updates now. The United States has bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran, a risky move that could spark a wider regional conflict. President Donald Trump tonight hailed it as a very successful attack. The Fordo bunker, Natanz, and Esfahan sites. He says American planes dropped a full payload of bombs and has now left the airspace. The president said B-52 stealth bombers were used, but did not specify which types of bombs were dropped. The decision to directly involve the U.S. comes after a week of strikes from the Israeli armed forces and move systematically to eradicate the country's air defenses and nuclear program. You can see here what the nuclear facility looked like at Fordo, deep into a mountainside, tunnels, centrifuges built within the walls of the mountain. This is what a bomber strike force, stealth bomber strike force from our country looks like, ladies and gentlemen. And the facilities have been totally obliterated. So much news happening right now. All 3 targeted sites in pictures. This is the Esfahan nuclear enrichment facility seen on June 14th. This is the Fordo uranium enrichment facility, as you can see here, a sophisticated facility, something that obviously has been built in order to withstand the harshest of attacks, but they couldn't stop President Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue. Donald Trump sent several decoy bomber aircraft, and forgive me, I wanted to make sure that I get this right. We'll play the clip here. President Trump sent decoy bomber aircraft over the Pacific to manipulate the Iranians. Now, you probably heard that news. I was wondering why that news was so prominent in my feed. It was a psyop, a literal psyop. People were saying all day that these planes were too far away to strike today, and this was in order to manipulate the Iranians to make them feel secure that nothing would happen, and now all of their nuclear capabilities are gone. We're going to play this clip. I want to give you my take on this because obviously we are just one of the people who have opinions on these things, right? And I don't think my take will surprise you on all of this. Ladies and gentlemen, first, here is the strategic masterclass of President Trump. Let's go.
Thanks with an update on the ground in Tel Aviv. Trey?
Yeah, Brett, just 8 minutes ago, Israel's Home Front Command announced they have changed the restrictions for civilians. They had previously lifted some of them, allowing gatherings in public. People could go to the beaches, and some workplaces were open. Tonight, a directive from Israel's Defense Minister, Israel Katz, changing all of this to essential activity only. This means that workplaces tomorrow in Israel will be closed. There will be no school. There will be no public gatherings, and people will be encouraged to stay within walking distance of bomb shelters, understanding that Iran could respond at any moment. We have seen these types of instructions go out to the public in the past when Israel was bracing for an immediate Iranian response, and they have often saved lives. Even tonight, given the change in restrictions, there are already people underground in shelters in some parts of this city of Tel Aviv, Israel's second largest city, bracing for the possibility of that response. This statement that we just received from the IDF says the public is required to follow the instructions published on the official Homefront Command channels. Full instructions will be updated on the National Emergency Portal. This describes what Israel is facing right now, Brett, a national emergency. The country is in a state of emergency. If there is any sort of Iranian attack, like we've seen over the past 9 days, these waves of ballistic missiles, there will alerts be sent out to phones across this country. People will then quickly head to shelters. They have anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, generally, when these alerts come in, before the sirens start to sound across these major population centers, and then the ballistic missiles target the cities. We have stood on this balcony and in other places in Tel Aviv, watching as these missiles get intercepted overhead. Remember, as we speak, there are advanced missile defense systems deployed across this country. Israel's Arrow 2 and 3 system, along with the David Sling system, and then, of course, the American ships that are out at sea, and the Patriot missile defense system on the ground, along with a THAAD system that is out a little bit further away from population centers. And so there are many different systems deployed at this moment, preparing for the possibility of an Iranian response. But these systems are not perfect. More than 24 people have been killed in the Iranian attacks against Israel over the past 9 days, and the devastation in some areas of Israel has been catastrophic. But we've heard from top Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, indicating that Iran will pay a price for targeting all of these residential areas, for launching missiles into apartment buildings, into hospitals, and killing innocent civilians. And so we expect, while Israeli officials remain on the defensive tonight, preparing the country, along with this alert that we just received from Israel's Home Front Command, by restricting the movement of civilians, they're also preparing once again to go on offense. And I'm texting right now with military officials who say they do expect some sort of statement from the IDF following President Trump's remarks at the White House tonight. Other officials, again, reacting tonight to this news that President Trump has made the decision to strike Iranian nuclear facilities.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you'll have to forgive us as we put the show together, literally as it's live. This is an update from on the ground in Israel. Israel is now in a state of total and complete martial law, expecting what will probably be a severe and very savage retaliation over the next coming days. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is the head fake from inside of the Pentagon. President Trump sending specific strike groups in formations all around the world in order to trick the Iranians. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
White House after those unprecedented strikes against Iran's nuclear enrichment sites, 3 in all in Isfahan, Fordo, and Natanz. And you mentioned the 6 bunker-busting bombs, Sean, that the president told you about. That means 3 B-2 bombers were involved in the strikes tonight, because each B-2 bomber can only carry 2 of those 15-ton bunker-busting bombs. So that means 3 B-2 bombers were involved. And as we heard from Jennifer's reporting, it's likely deception was involved. Everyone woke up this morning to chatter about these 6 B-2 bombers flying west over the Pacific, refueling over Hawaii at about 11 p.m. But it's clear now that those were decoys, and that another flight of B-2s flew east, likely 3 of them. When you said 6 bunker-busting bombs were dropped, that flight that went east went to the target and annihilated Fordo, as we're hearing, likely destroying Iran's nuclear enrichment program. As you mentioned, for 11 11 years, President Trump has made clear that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. That was his red line, and tonight he enforced it. You mentioned the 30 Tomahawks fired from sub.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is remarkable. We had a lot of very interesting things happening early on in the administration, first 100 days. Remember Signalgate, where they there was plans to bomb the Houthis that were being shared on Signal. There was a reporter on there, and that was, and let's just call it what it was, an embarrassment, right, to those who were involved in that operation. This was extreme stealth and sophistication and zero leaks. I have never seen anything like it. Zero leaks. Nobody was preparing for this at all. I was at home, quiet night with my kids. I just put my kids down for bed, and nobody was preparing for this. I had assumed President Trump said he would decide in 2 weeks whether he would be bombing Iran. This seems like a classic Trump give them time, and now it's over, right? At least we hope it's over. Sean Hannity spoke with President Trump, revealed 6 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs were dropped from a B-2 stealth bomber into the Fordo nuclear facility. 6 of them. 30,000-pound bombs. 2 other Iranian nuclear facilities were wiped out with 30 Tomahawk missiles launched from American submarines from 400 miles away. That's wild. Okay, so this is the data behind the actual strike itself.
And welcome to Hannity. We begin tonight with this Fox News alert. I just spoke to the President of the United States. I have some new information and breaking details to share about tonight's what is historic air campaign. Now, tonight, Iran's nuclear ambitions, they are officially dead. It appears the United States just completely obliterated Iran's top secret Fordo nuclear facility with 6 huge bunker buster bombs. It was originally speculated that you would only need 2. It turns out they used 5 to 6 dropped from America's stealth B-2 bombers. And that's not all. 2 other major Iranian nuclear sites, Natanz and Esfahan, were wiped out with 30 Tomahawk missiles launched by American submarines some 400 miles away. Everyone is out of harm's way for now. That does not mean that American assets in the region are not at risk. And
okay. So there it is. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is 9:59 Eastern Standard Time. President Trump is to be speaking in 1 minute. Now, of course, our team is ready to go as soon as the president speaks. He'll be up he'll be up and on in live with us. We have the White House, we have the feed directly hardwired in from the White House. Now, sometimes these things can be delayed, but he is supposed to speak at 10 a.m., all right? Now, Sean Hannity alluded to the potential of Iranians attacking American assets in the region. That is now being promised by Iranian state television. Iranian state television saying now they will be attacking all American bases. This is, of course, the worst possible result. This is a legitimate target of Iran. The U.S. has committed crime against Iran, violating Iran's airspace, no place in the West Asian regions. Mr. President of the United States, you started it, and we will finish it. Okay. So, that's a lot of tough talk for somebody who, for a nation that has no power over its own airspace, right? That can't even defend its own airspace. Here's my take on all of this. If you watch the channel, you know that I am a non-interventionist. I grew up black-pilled in the global war on terror. I have many GWAT friends who came back maimed mentally, physically, maimed by an Iranian bomb, probably. Most likely, they were the ones doing the terrorism there. And so I don't like the Iranians. I don't like them, okay? I'm not a fan of the regime, and I'm not a fan of Iran. And I don't like them getting a nuclear weapon or trying to get a nuclear weapon. Nobody can ever make the case that that's something that should happen. I certainly won't be the one doing that. I certainly won't be the one trying to prop that up. I have been warning from this channel against this because I saw my friends and my countrymen, get plotted deep into the sand for some other nation, and not for us in Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria and Libya and all these other disasters over there. History reaches out and touches you when you're over in the Mideast, and it's something that I don't want to see happen again. And I feel like that's my greatest warning. Now, here's what's most important. I trust President Trump. I'm not in the room. I'm not read in. I'm not a part of these briefings. I don't have a classified clearance. I don't have any of that. So President Trump clearly saw something and acted. Now, this man took a bullet for us. He ran against the Bush dynasty, against the Obama dynasty, against the Clinton dynasty, against the forever war neocons. And he's not going to be handing his administration over to them. That's not why he ran, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
Fordo,
here's President Trump, live.
Natanz, and Isfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say, we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. And God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a grand total of 4 minutes. A 4-minute speech from the president, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, and Pete Hegseth. What an incredibly strong front. Amazing. We need to Wow. There we go. Look at this. Okay. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to do a live scroll. I'm going to finish my thought on this. Because at the very least, we've been consistent. We're not going to change our opinions. I think that I don't think that anybody voted for regime change war. Nobody voted for regime change wars when they were voting for President Trump. And there's a photo of President Trump in the Situation Room with the bombing, with J.D. Vance at his side, the Make America Great Again hat on. A strong photo. How unbelievably disrespectful of me, because I don't know this. I don't know the details, the security details of all of this. I don't. I am anti-interventionist for this exact reason. I grew up, everybody who's around my age, anybody who's listening right now, grew up with these forever wars. And we're done with them. And I don't want them. We should have been wise and listened to George Washington when he said, this country will be destroyed by foreign entanglements. It will destroy this nation. And so I don't want that. I don't want forever wars. This seems like it is not a regime change war. That's what we've heard from reporting on the ground. That the Pentagon was actually in contact with Iranians before these strikes, saying this is a precision strike, this is not a regime change war, we are stopping your nuclear enrichment. So two things can be true. One, we didn't vote for a forever war and for regime change. And it is ideologically consistent to say that and to hold that stance principally. Two, that Donald Trump is the president of peace and that this may be a path toward peace. I wasn't read in on the security. For me to sit there and say that I know more than Donald Trump is foolish, and he's earned my trust. And so what I principally do not want to happen now is one, American boots on the ground. Two, this to spiral into a greater overall regional conflict. Three, for there to be such collapse in Iran that it creates 100 million people as some type of, national, migrant wave, a new migrant wave into Europe to just wash hundreds of millions of Muslims onto the shores of the West again, right? As we destabilize the Mideast, this is what happened in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya. This is where that migrant crisis comes from. Those are the things I don't want. I think those are the things, obviously, clearly, President Trump doesn't want. President Trump wants peace. My president is the president who walked into North Korea, a country that we were actively at war with, and shook hands, was clapped on the back by Kim Jong-un. That's my president. It is obscenely presumptive and presumptuous for me to say I know more than Trump. And I'm smarter than Trump. And how dare he? I'm not going to do that. I won't do it. I won't. This president has earned my respect, and he's earned yours, obviously, clearly. And his team has done that. And that is the final thing, my final takeaway on this, which is that we need that coalition to stay together. That is my greatest fear and my greatest worry here, is the cracking and the potential fracturing of the coalition through frictions and agitations like this. I didn't like the Elon stuff. I don't like the, Tucker obviously went hard at President Trump this week. Same thing with Bannon. I didn't like it. I don't like it. We're fighting the Marxists here. We're fighting a unified collectivist animal who's a demon. We're fighting evil. We're fighting the blackness of the beating heart of evil. And so we must remain unified. Otherwise, if we're fractured, if there's people that splinter off and then create, these major attack vectors against Trump and whatever, you've seen it happen, you see it happen. And I'm worried about that. I'm worried about that coalition. I don't want that coalition to break up. That coalition is a winning coalition. It's a coalition that could win and save America, truly save Western civilization, but it needs to be united. And so I'm going to put my shoulder into the work of ensuring that unification. Blessed are the peacemakers. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be my focus. This is the thing that I worry the very most about. So this is it. President Trump walking up and just spitting fire for 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, 4 minutes and 20 seconds, flanked there, of course, by his Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and his Vice President. It's a strong look. It's a very strong look, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Here we go. I don't understand why some immediately jump to Iraq or Afghanistan. These were targeted strikes, and the world, especially the Mideast, is safer without Iranian nuclear capacity. Congrats to the warfighters who executed this mission. Here's something that's important, and perhaps we could, here's Dan Scavino. Goodness, what a shot. Here's something that you can compare it to. When President Trump took out Qasem Soleimani, he was the Iranian general who was directly responsible for the maiming of my friends, the hurting of my friends. Everyone knows. Everyone knows. Raise your hand in the comment section. Do you know somebody who came back from the GWAT wars, the Global War on Terrorism wars, the Bush wars, who lost an arm or a leg, an eye, side of their face, 2 legs, 2 arms, who just lost their mind, right? Who had their brain snap? Like, everyone knows somebody like that. It's terrible. It's terrible. And so, most of those maimings came from Iran. So there's righteous indignation against that nation. Qasem Soleimani was the general who created that system of terror and horror for our boys. And so I loved it when President Trump blew him straight to hell, sent Qasem Soleimani straight to Jesus. I think that that's a good thing. I loved that. Find me somebody in MAGA that didn't approve of that. And so these strikes are simply that: targeted, effective, contained strikes in order to eliminate Iran's nuclear facility, which, of course, I am certainly not going to be one sitting here making the argument that Iran should have a nuke. That's insane. No good faith argument can be made for that. Well, if that's what this is, then good. Good. It is a paradigm shift. And it's a wild paradigm shift. Look at it. Look at this footage that's coming out. Look at this. I mean, it's a literal mushroom cloud. A 30,000-pound bomb. That's what it looks like. Maybe 2. 6 of them were dropped at the same time on that facility, and that facility is now gone, ladies and gentlemen. ALX, can you please get me the reporting? I think it was Eric, maybe not. That the American administration contacted the Iranians ahead of this strike and told them this is not a regime change war. It's great. Good. Are you against Soleimani? Soleimani maimed our boys. General Qasem Soleimani from Iran, an evil, evil person. He was in charge of the Quds force. He personally oversaw the slaughter of Americans, any American he could possibly get a bomb near or his hands on. Tens of thousands of, well, at least thousands. There were 10,000 American lives lost in those wars. There are hundreds of thousands of injuries. So many of them were because of that Iranian general. And I'm glad that he's dead. And he's dead in a sophisticated tactical strike. Does anybody argue against that? No, we all remember that. We all remember Donald Trump addressing the nation with Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. I mean, can we get that, please? Producers, can you send me that? I will say, like, I kind of wish that Donald Trump had gone that direction. Please load all of Donald Trump's full remarks. Please, team. Thank you. I want to rewatch them. It's totally worth like popping them back up. They were so short. It's 4 minutes. Wow. Even less. Goodness gracious. 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I want to rewatch them. I kind of wish we got the Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi died like a dog. He was crying. We said, don't cry. Cry, baby Baghdadi. The United States contacted Iran diplomatically today before the strikes, telling them that regime change is not on the menu. Ladies and gentlemen, goodness gracious. I mean, well, would you look at that? I mean, that is just that is American. That is peace through strength, I guess. Ooh, holy smokes. This commentary from President Trump is only 3 minutes long. Let's hear it one more time, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time. I've never heard a shorter Trump speech in my life. Here's all 3 minutes.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them.
We love God. That's amazing. We love God. Thank you, God.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
I forgot we had the walk off there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure that'll be memed. It is this is a dangerous group of men right there. Goodness gracious. Okay. I mean, I've done my best to stay ideologically consistent here. I wouldn't argue against the bombing. I wouldn't argue against the strategic killing of Qasem Soleimani, which was every bit an act of war, I guess, as this, or the killing of the leader of ISIS. I, in my heart, I kind of wish, deep down, that President Trump had brought the energy of the Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi raid to this, just out of obscene desire for entertainment, just so that you can remember.
Like a dog, he died like a coward. He was whimpering, screaming, and crying. And frankly, I think it's something that should be brought out so that his followers and all of these young kids that want to leave various countries, including the United States, they should see how he died. He didn't die a hero. He died a coward. Crying, whimpering, screaming, and bringing 3 kids with him to die, certain death. And he knew the tunnel had no end. I mean, it was a closed end. They call it a closed end tunnel. Not a good place to be.
So this was going on before you made...
He died like a dog.
Trump speeches. Trump gave what I think was probably one of the greatest speeches of world leaders given. You know, it's got to be up there with like Churchill, Gettysburg Address. Anyway, for real though, it was my favorite speech I've ever seen a president give. It was the night the United States killed the leader of ISIS. Trump comes out of the Situation Room at like midnight in the White House, and he walks down that fucking tunnel like and gives a press conference like he's giving a post-game NBA just killed a guy press conference. He walks up in front of the entire world at midnight and just goes, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead. He died like a dog. And
That's the exact speech. That's the exact speech that Trump gave.
That's all him, dude. Shit talk for 40, the meanest shit talk you've ever heard in front of the whole world. Abu. We could hear him crying. I said, Abu, don't cry. Let me tell you something. Abu cried. He cried quite a bit. I wouldn't have cried.
I mean...
Crybaby Baghdadi. That's what we were all calling it.
True. People missed Trump. And now they got Trump back. We'll see. I want the coalition to stay together. That's the thing I'm the most concerned about. I'm not going to be presumptuous or entitled or arrogant and say that I know more than the President of the United States. Here are the photos out of the Situation Room of President Trump wearing the MAGA hat the entire time. Wow. This is, of course, the team watching the military operation going on inside of the Situation Room. These are the bombers that engaged in this operation. Team, do we have this right here? I want to show the bunker buster. Has this been loaded? If not, please load as a play-beside. Thank you. Iran, Trump. Thank you for your attention to this matter. AOC is now calling for Donald Trump's impeachment. Okay. This is another video of the fall. Oh my gosh. Goodness gracious. Look at that. Incredible. I mean, truly, like, this is the... Look at the size of that mushroom cloud. It's gone. This is the destruction of Fordo nuclear plant. How are they able to do it? Ladies and gentlemen, here's how the bomb works.
At the moment, the penetrating bomb is dropped from the aircraft. It can rely on its powerful kinetic energy to continue drilling down in the direction of the sharp warhead, just like a nail being driven into wood, without detonating immediately. At the same time, because its casing is made of high-strength materials, it can protect the internal structure from damage during impact. In order to achieve precise strikes, the delay fuse at the back serves to delay detonation until the penetrating bomb reaches the set depth, at which point it will detonate the explosives according to specific instructions. This design not only destroys enemy underground factories or laboratories, but also minimizes excessive damage to surface targets.
There you go. Goodness gracious. Can we load this one? This is wild. That is wild. All right, producers, let's look here. Yeah. Incredible. Okay. Wow, what a shot. What a shot. Amazing. Well, we are living in wild times. Look at that. There you go. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. It's a good meme. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right. We love you, God. Okay. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see. President Trump, according to Trafalgar Group, 9.9% positive approval rating, 54% approve, 44% disapprove. Again. Cernovich, Jerusalem embassy, nothing happened. Soleimani dead. I supported that. Nothing happened again. Even so, no margin for error on these diplomatic agenda, on the domestic agenda, correction. No patience or excuses about Epstein file. The attack was an FU to the base. No more excuses. Okay. Like this is again what I'm trying to establish here is that seems to be that along. Other than the potential loss of life for our American service members in the region, God help us. Iran state media says only entrance and exit tunnels of the nuclear site were damaged in American bombing. Really? Really? Well, here's the clip of the bombing, and let's see if you believe that.
Смотри, идет сюда. Офигеть, сейчас. Вот, видели эту волну? Просто жесть. А как светло было, вообще как.
That's just what a... Listen to the sound of this thing.
شهرانو من به گازه شهرانو زدم.
Thank you for your attention to this matter. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, all my friends are dead. Okay. Gallows humor here. That's what we have. Boom, boom, boom. We'll see. Producers, anything further? This is a very, very important evening, obviously. It's legacy defining. And I'll leave you with this. God has his hand on President Trump. And there are very, very wise people that are at his side, including multiple people who fought in these godforsaken wars, like J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth. I didn't fight in these wars. All right? I didn't. These men did. Marco Rubio also, Marco Rubio is not a veteran, but man, I'll tell you what, based on the work that he's doing in this administration, he is locking it in. These guys are wise. I know all of them, right? On varying degrees. You've seen them all on the program on varying degrees. They're wise. They're not going to atomize America for the rest of their political futures depend on America first, depend on this coalition staying strong and staying together. And this decision, which was ultimately President Trump's, was made with wise counsel of probably the strongest anti-interventionalist cabinet in history. Because not only do you have Hegseth and Vance, but you also have Tulsi and RFK and a number of other people who certainly are of the center, I guess you could argue now. They've all left the Democrat Party. But the point is that, I'm not read in. I'm not there's a bunch of people who are going to smart off their mouth and say they're smarter than Trump. I'm not one that's going to do that. President Trump has earned my respect, my trust. I watched him take a bullet for this country, and I don't think for the rest of my life I'll ever see a president take a bullet for this country. And that wasn't wasted. God doesn't waste that kind of energy. He doesn't waste that kind of blessing. And so when it comes to this, I'm going to look as the past being prologue. I'm going to look at the evidence of the administration already reaching out diplomatically to Iran, according to all reports, and saying this is not a regime change operation. This is not some type of boots on the ground operation. And I'm going to say these targeted strikes, if these targeted strikes turn out to be rid the world of evil, as President Trump has done targeted strikes before. One was against an Iranian general. Others were against the leaders of ISIS, and so on and so forth. Trump has done these targeted strikes. If this is, of course, grander, this is, of course, on a larger scale, but if that is all that this ends up being, then I'm not going to be the one to argue that Iran should have a nuclear program. Also, no. Throw Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. Iran better come to the effing table and negotiate. And then let's put an end to this. If this puts an end, if America's strength being back puts an end to wars in Russia and wars in Gaza and wars that might have popped up given American weakness in the Indo-Chinese Pacific South Sea, if this is a reset of American strength, fine. It brings us close to the edge, as I've been railing on. It brings us close to the edge, and I'm worried about the coalition. That's the thing I'm the most worried about. That and the lives of our soldiers, sailors, airmen who are serving overseas at this time, who now, of course, are and may be under attack. And so pray for them tonight. Pray for our president tonight. We've prayed for wisdom, and we seek God's promise. And President Trump posting on X just 3 minutes ago this American flag. That's it. America first, ladies and gentlemen. America first. Let us not be entangled or send our men off to die in sand fields for foreign nations. I am against that. I will remain against that for the rest of my life. And I think President Trump has earned our trust here. So let's trust in his wisdom, but more importantly, let's trust in the hand of God being spiritually over our nation and protecting us. Okay. All right. I think that's enough for this evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be reading the comments. Thank you all for commenting. I'll be reading the comments to find out what people really think about this. I know it's going to be a haymaker over the next couple of days. We'll be locked and loaded and ready for you. Remember, most importantly, in the end, we win. Put your faith in God, not in man. In the end, we win. It's your boy Benny. Thank you for joining us for this breaking news. See ya.